if you're coming home from hospital, we can provide support. We also support people on low income, council tenants. We've got a handy person service for small repairs, which is probably what we're most well known for. A home from hospital discharge service. So we do help to facilitate hospital discharge and make homes safer when people return from hospital. There'll be more on that later. Also the quite famous now Making Space service, which is a very high demand service, which helps people with hoarding tendencies to manage. There's not really a like service available in the country. There are other charities that help with hoarding, but we're very, very hands-on in both the practical and the mental health aspect of making space for people who have hoarding tendencies. Housing options service as well. Housing options, our aim is to keep people in their home as long as possible, independent in their home as long as possible. Sometimes that's not always possible. So housing options is there to help people make choices and decisions, next steps towards maybe selling their property or moving into care or residential care. We do major repairs and adaptations as well, and we work in conjunction with the CSE, Centre for Sustainable Energy, and Talking Money for energy advice and debt advice as well. So in Baines, we work with a housing team to facilitate DFGs, Disabled Facilities Grants, urgent repair grants, affordable warmth grants. So we do help a lot with boiler and heating repairs and replacements and things like that, and a green energy grant as well most recently. We also have hospital discharge service there as well, so healthcare professionals do refer patients to us from the RUH and other hospitals in Bath to facilitate them going back home and making their homes very safe. I'll go through some of those things that we do shortly. And of course, handy person service runs in all of our areas, including Gloucestershire. We do actually have a separate Gloucestershire team. We work with healthcare professionals there as well, and telecare installation. In the Bristol area, we work with the Dolphin Society, and the Dolphin Society pay for people that can't afford to have telecare, or now known as TECs, such as pendant alarms that you might have heard of, and fall detectors. Now, Bristol City Council also offer a similar service now, I believe, for people who are maybe low income. I'm not sure of all the details there, but the Dolphin Society are still providing the same service, and we work with them to install those items in the Bristol area rather than provide telecare directly through ourselves. So bathrooms, we exclusively install level access shower rooms. We install level access shower rooms for private paying customers. So level access shower rooms are designed around the person, not the other way around. The person who is having the equipment has to be comfortable. The stylish bathrooms, it's not like a standard sort of DFG disabled bathroom. It's a range of options and styles that you can have. I like to say that just because it's safe doesn't have to be boring. So certainly any choice that you would get with any other bathroom provider, we can provide as well. We're the only local bathroom provider with a qualified occupational therapist who can give you a personal assessment as well. So to actually assess for your needs and say build the bathroom around your needs. Our central Bristol showroom is closed at the moment, unfortunately, but hopefully we'll be able to reopen in the near future. We do have some example bathrooms there that you can see, some of the grab rail and shower options. The benefit of a level access shower compared to other types of walk-in shower, there's no lip to stand over. It's just a leveled off floor with the shower tray itself. If you can imagine, it's sunken below the floor. So that way you can literally access the shower from the floor level, which we think is much safer for all people. And it's quite a stylish look as well. Many people are going for those kind of things because they're easier to clean and maintain. and they are that modern look. There's support from the team every step of the way, so you'll have a dedicated technical officer who will help you to build the bathroom and follow through with the work. We do use contractors to complete the work, but when you're paying through us, you can be certain that they're held accountable for everything that they do, and we have a very high standard of quality from start to finish. There'll be rigorous checks to make sure that it meets the standard. So the handy person service is probably the thing we're most well known for, the care and repair side of things. We like to think that what sets us apart in the handy person service is that it's a fair and honest price with honest advice, quality work, and respect for your home as well. If we get something wrong, we do come back and put it right as well, whereas a lot of people will not do that. We like to get the job done 100% correctly. And our team have been carefully selected, join us through a rigorous recruitment process, and they're all trusted assessor trained as well. So they're able to give advice on positioning of rails, and they have not a deep clinical knowledge, but they have a knowledge about what works and what doesn't work for people with specific medical conditions. So something different from a normal handy person that you would get. A handy person can take care of a variety of sort of small to medium-sized works in the home. Plumbing, carpentry, we install grab rails, we do gardening, fences, even things as small as hanging mirrors and hanging pictures on walls and changing light bulbs. It's really no job too small for our handy person team. The reason that we can do that is that it's partly funded by the council. So if you're on a low income, which is sort of classified as under £20,000 before tax annual household income, or under £15,000 savings, or you're maybe on pension credit or other benefits, then you're entitled to a subsidised rate, a lower rate for some of the works that we do. We also do works for council tenants as well. There's a small budget every month for council tenants to have repairs in their home. In Bristol, this is. So yeah, certainly, it's going to come out a lot cheaper than maybe going to other handy people or larger companies who won't necessarily do smaller things like replacing light bulbs. We've got an information and advice team that will signpost to other organisations where relevant, other charities. We're happy to take calls and on a variety of subjects. If there's something, some aspect of home repair that you're unsure about, we're happy to take a call about that and to go through some of the options. They can organise repairs directly, like boiler breakdowns, and look into some of the options available for funding. It's definitely a more personal support that you would get from the service. They're definitely exploring the best options for yourself, and it's not a case of this is how much it's going to cost, bang, and you have to pay. There are loan options available. We work with Lendology, who help lots of homeowners in the southwest with low cost loans if you meet their criteria, so we can look into that. With some things like boiler repairs, there might be funding available, certain grants that can cover some emergency repairs. And we'll certainly take the time to discuss this with you. No sort of quick decisions unless it's something that needs to be moved upon quickly, in which case that's a different matter. We'll do it as fast as we can. And even give advice for friends and neighbours. So if you wanted to call us about a friend or neighbour you were concerned about, you can call us and talk about it. And it's all obligation free. So information and advice might refer you on to our project management team, which is a professional technical team that manage repair work, making sure it's completed to a high standard. So again, working with contractors who are trusted and vetted. We monitor them on an ongoing basis. So similar with the bathrooms, from start to finish, you've got a dedicated technical officer who's going to talk you through everything, explain things, no jargon, give you honest advice and listen to your concerns if you have any about the work that's being done. Typically, we do roof repairs, damp proofing, structural repairs, rewiring, large-scale doors and window replacement. We can do that as well as heating. So it's quite comprehensive. From top to bottom, we can do large works and smaller works in Bristol, Bath, South Gloss, and North Somerset. Home adaptations can be beneficial to help people stay independent in their home. So relevant things might be an extension or a garage conversion, which might create more space, or they might allow you to have a downstairs bathroom, walk-in shower room, or level access shower room where you couldn't before. So those kind of alterations, they can really help people stay independent for a very long time. Widening doors and installing ramps, again, other things that we've done that can do that.
Kenny, sorry, can I just interject? I know you said like these larger jobs. I'm sorry, I'm being a bit rude. When it's a job that comes in and we're looking at funding issues and where to go and how to fundraise or where to find funding for people, because I do this too, even though I'm here to talk about the hospital discharge service, someone will get a technical officer and a project manager, like someone like me, to make sure that it all runs really smoothly and they're informed. The technical officer is more technical, but someone like me, or Lisa or Ian, or like the caseworker project managers, we're like your first port of call, and we know exactly how to advise you and where to go and where we can get money if we can to help people pay for stuff. And also we can relay back into the handy person service as well and have our handy people come and do works. So we're the conduit, if you like, and we know it's all in our heads. Really, it's quite difficult it would take probably 3 hours to say to everyone, this is where all this money can come from. But just to give you that heads up that, we're kind of, you've always got a project manager like me on a case, helping you, guiding you through, holding your hand and doing all the work for you so that you don't have to worry. And I think that's what it is. Sometimes it's just really scary for someone to think, oh, I've got to have this work done and I don't know where to start and I don't know who to go to. And that's, that's where our expertise comes in hand, I think. And then we have a technical officer for more technical stuff. But essentially, it's us project managers that will help you and get the work done for you and tell you where you need to go and help you through those processes, if that's an option that you really want to go down.
Thanks, Dawn. Yeah, it's again, there's so much to mention about what we do in such a short space of time. I'm sorry if it sounds like I'm sort of buzzing through it, and trying to cover as much as possible, really. But thanks, Dawn. That's really helpful. And again, not worrying. It's hard to know who to trust. We work with local council, we work with the NHS, as you'll find out a bit more about from Dawn and Tom. So hopefully that's something that speaks to the experience and the quality of what we do and the care that we put into the work that we do. Again, home from hospital, Dawn we'll talk a little bit more about that moving forward. This is our occupational therapist, Maria. So we have an in-house OT, usually able to see you really quickly. Why would you have an occupational therapist? We can discuss in a lot more detail your medical history, how you're managing in your home environment. They can come at things from a clinical perspective, but also from a very personal perspective, and take the time to listen to you and give you a full assessment of your home and some of the things that can be done to improve your safety and independence in your home. So it is £200 for one person or £300 assessment for two people in one property, but it's a lot quicker than going through some other routes, as can be the case with private. If you can afford to pay, then it's a very efficient service, and also that money that you pay, if you do have an adaptation like a bathroom adaptation, that cost is taken off of the balance for that bathroom adaptation. The Home Independence Centre, we've got a few things there on display: riser recliner chairs, adjustable beds, other gizmos and gadgets that can help around the home. We've got an adapted kitchen and a few bathrooms on display there as well. And hopefully in the near future, we'll be able to show you those again and welcome people back into our centre to try them out. So, whether it's that bed we were talking about, or a rise recliner chair, or any other sort of mobility aid, we've got lots of staff on hand who know a lot about those products. I have quite a deep background in mobility and independent living products, and I'm happy to talk about things that even we don't necessarily sell: wheelchairs, power chairs, and scooters. We've got a level of knowledge in what you can do and where you can go to get those, and some of the things that you should look out for. We do also have a through-floor lift and some working stair lifts that you can see as well. We do usually refer you to other companies that we work with for those products. We don't sell them directly, but again, they're trusted or well-known contractors or manufacturers, I should say, for stair lifts, like Handicare, for example, you might have heard of. So yeah, this is an example of a door that's been moved to the front of a property and widened, and a ramp installed for wheelchair accessibility. And the door installed to the side of the extension there on the right hand side for access to the garden as well. This is just a small example of some of the larger kind of medium to large works that we've done before. And so we have a case study here, and Mr. and Mrs. B have arthritis and Parkinson's respectively. They wanted to live nearer to their children. Their home was in the countryside and they couldn't get to the shops, and they'd moved into a new conversion. And after a few months, Mrs. B was struggling to get upstairs and use the bathroom and had falls. So their plumber suggested contacting us. We get a lot of referrals from all sorts of people that have heard of care and repair in the past. So we can see here just a basic example of before and after we've done here. So level access shower instead of a bathtub. The shower can be adjusted there. Nowadays, we're looking at smart showers as well, and different electric showers that can regulate temperature and save water, and and save settings for different people if there might be different people using the shower. So that's something that we probably would look to install if it was something that that person was interested in using, had the ability to use. There's a chair there as well, you can see. So it's a wall fixed seat, bath seat, which folds away. Just a few quotes from some of our customers about how they felt. The new level access shower bathroom is marvellous, a relief to get into the shower now. And it's that kind of thing, really. It's that peace of mind and also maintaining independence at home. That's what we're in it for, to keep people in their home as long as possible. We're also proud to be dementia friends. Well, most of us anyway. We aim for the whole organisation to be dementia friendly by the end of this year, so we can help people living with dementia in the community that we serve. Julie, unfortunately, is not able to be with us today, is our Dementia Friends champion, and I know that she would love to talk more in detail about some of the plans that she's got. So we'll save that for another time, but we're working closely with Dementia Friends and with Tony. Thanks for listening. Sorry, it was a whistle-stop tour of all of our services. There's so much to say, and hopefully you'll have some questions, and I can answer some of your questions in a bit more detail now. We do have the website there as well, just wecr.org.uk. Our team are available Monday to Friday from 8 AM until 5 PM to answer questions as well. If after this you were looking to speak to someone about some of the things that we can provide for yourself or for someone that you know, a relative or a friend or a patient. That information is available on the website, and you can directly message us through the website as well. So without Not at all, thank you.
Now, Dawn, you're on.
Okay, so I'm on. Okay, so well, one of the two things that I do at Care and Repair, I'm part of the project management team that I was just sort of talking about. So I manage boiler repairs, roofing repairs, rising damp. You know, basically what happens is when you come to us and you've got a structural thing that's going on, you'll get allocated someone like me, and we'll help you through the whole process. But one of the other things that I do is I work with all of the hospitals in Bristol. I don't work with any of the hospitals in Bath, so but I can certainly talk about, you know, the system and the service that we give is the same, whether it's Bath and North East Somerset or Bristol. But we run what's called a home from hospital service. So it's basically, it's to make sure that if someone has gone into hospital and a little thing has been raised, like, you know, the paramedics have had to get in and pick somebody up and it's looking a bit that they haven't been coping for a while, it's not clean, it's cluttered, or they've noticed there's the electricity isn't working, they haven't got any hot water, that kind of thing, then that's where we come into play. And we can access a grant from Bristol City Council that pays for the work. And the idea is that it facilitates hospital discharge as quickly as possible. And the funding, again, I don't want to get into too much specifics because it's not for the people that we're helping that need to understand that. It's for us to understand it and know how to work it. But certainly in Bristol, I run it in Bristol with my colleague Ian, and we can sort out cleaning, clearance in a way. It's not like where someone will go in and like pick through stuff so much. That's more our making space project, but it's about clearing walkways, making it safe for someone to come home, so that when they do come home, they have safe access, walking in their hallway, walking to a chair in their living room. They can get into their kitchen and it's safe, there isn't stuff in the way. If they can get up and down the stairs, making sure that's all nice and clear, and that their bedroom and their bathroom is nice and clean and clear, so that they're not going to fall. I know, you know, one of the classic symptoms with dementia as it goes on is like shuffling feet and struggling to move around. So we make sure, especially what we do when we get the referral is we find out all of these things. We ask for health conditions, whether they've had falls, so that we're informed. And then I know when I go in and I take a look at that property, I know what I'm looking for and I know what it is that needs to be done to make sure it's safe, warm and secure. So the basic thing is, the basic level is cleaning and clearance really, or just sort of clearing and restoring stuff so it's not all in the way, so it's safe for someone to, you know, to move from room to room. But also if it's a hazard, if it's a health hazard, i.e., you know, they've been living without any electrics upstairs, or they've been living without hot water and without heating for, you know, so long, or one of my colleagues that would pick it up, we can also sort that out as part of hospital discharge, and we can get the money for it and get it paid, and the person who's living in that house doesn't have to find the money for it. There is a benchmark. If someone's got lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of savings, then we might ask where you might have to pay. But usually, most of the time, we've been able to build a really good relationship with Bristol City Council. So they give us the funding. We have the funding held at We Care Home Improvements, so we can get that work happening really, really quickly. It's not also if someone is in hospital and can't be discharged because the home is not suitable. If if you know somebody that's struggling with, you know, too much stuff, or their boiler is broken down and it hasn't been working for weeks, their front door isn't locking properly, we can do security stuff as well, clearance, so that they're not going to fall over anything. We can do it as what is called admission prevention as well. And we can do that to prevent somebody going into hospital. So it's really flexible. It's such a flexible scheme that we're running, and it's one of the best projects that I think that we work on, and we help everybody: private tenants, homeowners, council tenants, and housing association tenants. So it's across the board. And the idea is to, I don't like using this term, but it's to stop bed blocking, even though that's a media term that has been thrown into the mix. But basically that's what we're here to do, and that's what I do, and that's what I work on. Was that helpful?
Lovely, thanks, Dawn. Has anybody got a quick question of clarification for Dawn? If not, we'll press on.
What I would say is, if you want to refer in, just phone our mainline telephone number, and the referral will go the right way, and it will either come to me or Ian or Tracy, who helps us with the project. And again, if it's something that you're not sure about, we'd rather you phoned us and spoke to us rather than not, because we can, if we don't think that it's something that we can help with, we'll probably know somewhere that can.
A quick one for you, Dawn. Sam was asking, is it only Bristol?
No, we're also in Bath and North East Somerset. I don't cover Bath and North East Somerset, so the funding works slightly differently, but still phone in if you need our help. And we are working in Western a little bit as well because of COVID. So we've sort of branched it out a bit, but the best thing is to phone us.
Right, okay, folks, I think we will carry on now. So, Rob, over to you. Tell us what you do and how you link up with We Care and Repair that we've heard about already.
Okay, thanks very much, Tony. And thank you, Kenny and Dawn from We Care and Repair. Just to introduce myself to everybody, my name's Rob Wigmore. I'm the team manager for the Discharge to Assess team in Bristol. We help people who have been admitted to the two Bristol hospitals, the Bristol Royal Infirmary and Southmead. We also can help Bristol residents who have been admitted to Western, but normally if you're admitted to Western because the other hospitals are busy, you come back to one of the Bristol hospitals then for some support if needed. We work closely with Dawn and Kenny, and we do highly regard their service. So if you are in need of any support in terms of We Care and Repair, we do a lot of work with Dawn and Kenny, and me personally, I know we've worked together just to ensure that the grants and things like that are current, to make sure that the services can last a long time. So that's something really good. In terms of us, just to let you all know, because of COVID, things have changed dramatically in the hospitals. So whereas before we used to have a team of social workers in the BRI, and we used to have a team of social workers in Southmead, once COVID hit, specifically last year, we were removed from both hospitals, and we've been working remotely. As you can see, I'm working from home today, and as you probably can guess from my accent, I'm not local either. I live in Southeast Wales. We are starting to move back though, because COVID is getting better, fingers crossed. And obviously with all of us having the vaccine, we now have got a base in South Bristol Community Hospital, as it was called, and it's now called South Bristol Community Rehab Centre. But it's the same building in the same place, and we work together with our colleagues in health to try and make sure that people are safely discharged from hospital. Now, the one greatest change, I think, in terms of which you'd all want, is I'd want to know for myself, and especially if I was a carer for somebody with dementia or a problem with their memory, is that whereas before, as I said, where we were based in the hospitals and we would do the majority of assessments under the Care Act in the hospitals, we no longer do that. Okay, so I've got a little, rather than me talking, I have got something here. So you can see my, can you all see my screen? Yeah, okay. So what we've got is different pathways just to try and make things easier, really. So when somebody is discharged from hospital, if you don't need any support at all, as you can see here, and no pathway is needed, you go home. Or if somebody's got a package of care already, then that package of care is restarted. Or if somebody needs the support from Weekend Repair or Red Cross, then that's done by the ward or by the case managers, the discharge managers on the ward. If though there's anybody, and we're moving on to this pathway 1, if anybody needs any support or assistance which is essential for your discharge, so say for instance you have you need an occupational therapist to do a risk assessment in your home, or you need an occupational therapist to provide some equipment in your home, or indeed you also need some support practically, then there's this pathway 1, which is with Home First. And Home First is run by Sirona, who also organise all of our district nurses and district nursing services in Bristol. Something called this SRF, which is a single referral form, is done by the ward staff, and that just gets information about you, information about where you live, who you live with, and what needs you might have for discharge, and that's passed through to Sirona, and then you can be discharged home with that support. Moving to the middle pathway, pathway 2, where you need some ongoing rehab, but that needs to be in an inpatient setting, then again that single referral form is filled in, normally by the ward staff and by the therapy staff, the occupational therapist or the physiotherapist. It says what therapy does somebody need. Is it because of a stroke? Is it because of a broken leg, broken arm, broken whatever? And then what happens is that our colleague Sirona determine which of their pathway to their rehab beds can be suitable for you to meet your needs, and then you're offered a placement there then, so that the therapy can take place and an assessment can take place in terms of your therapeutic needs. So that's pathway 2. Pathway 3 then is the pathway then where the local authority also are involved, where somebody needs an ongoing assessment under the Care Act. So for instance, if you're unable to return home because you don't feel safe, or if that you're unable to return home because your carer is not coping and needs some support, or if indeed you're unable to return home because you don't feel safe yourself in terms of being in between visits of a package of care, then what we do is that the single referral form is filled in again, and we look at one of our pathway 3 providers, which is an assessment out of hospital bed. They're with our local providers that are paid for via the NHS, so it's free of charge. And then once the assessment is completed, the allocated worker, which may be a social worker or an OT or a physio, will then discuss with you and your family or with appointed persons under the Court of Protection to negotiate what's the best step for you. Could it be a package of care? Could it be extra care? Could it be anything really which is the least restrictive, but that's going to promote your independence and promote the independence of your carers the most? Okay. The decisions that are made by the Community Integrated Care Bureau, that's all of us, you know, maybe that we need some more information from the ward or more information from you as carers, so we could telephone you, or we could ask the ward staff to ask you some questions. Or indeed, if you have any concerns about any of these pathways, you can ask for a multidisciplinary meeting so that we can talk about your thoughts, your fears, things like that. Or if the service is not appropriate in terms of if somebody's dementia needs are extremely high, then we can look at if one of the current providers that we have got commissioned with us can't cope and can't meet your needs, then we can look at asking for extra resources from the NHS to do that as well. Okay, but as I said, it is a huge change from what we used to do, which was to provide a service in hospital. Okay, where the other things really in terms of we need to consider throughout all of this are things such as continuing healthcare. So if somebody has a primary healthcare need and not social care needs, ask, you know, the question in terms of we can provide information to you, we can point you in the right direction for information and advice. If somebody is a carer, there's carer support networks that can help you come to these meetings. You know, that these meetings online, you know, when you're faced with, you know, 3-4 people isn't too bad, but if you're faced with 15 faces on a screen, because if lots and lots of agencies are involved, sometimes that can be a bit too much. So the main point in which I'm trying to say is that although that we have these 3 different pathways or going home, there are people on the wards that you can say, wait a minute, I'm a little bit concerned. Can somebody please offer some advice and support? Or I'm not in agreement of this. This isn't within the best interest for me or for the people I care for. Is there any alternatives? Can I discuss it with somebody? And there's somebody in both of the hospitals in the integrated discharge services that you can have those conversations with. And if you're involved with Dawn, or if you're involved with Red Cross, and you know a loved one is admitted to hospital, then by all means, you know, you can say to them, you know, and we can give advice or point you in the right direction as well. You know, we want to work together to make sure that hospital is a scary place, and especially with COVID, it's no longer a safe place because of the risks for COVID. The hospitals in Bristol are doing an absolutely amazing job to get us fit and healthier again. But the best place in terms of a discharge is out of hospitals as soon as possible. So that's why these 3 pathways have been brought up. They're government recommended pathways. So they are in all of the South East West region and throughout England and Wales. So every hospital operates the same system. We may operate differently in terms of how we organize it. In terms of some places it's all social services, some places it's not. But in Bristol, what we try and do is we try and say the best place for any assessment is not in the hospital, because that's the acute setting and it's not a fair representation of somebody's needs. The best place where possible is in your own home, where you feel comfortable, where you are. And that's why we're trying to look at the majority of assessments that we're doing at the moment are within pathway 3 beds, because they try and replicate obviously things that happen at home. Pathway 1 obviously is the most option that we do, and that assessment is in your own home with support coming in on a daily basis. Okay, and that's how the hospitals are at the moment.
Lovely. Thanks very much for that, Rob. We'll have an
No problem.
opportunity. We'll have an opportunity to ask questions in just a minute. And as I say, you can always put your questions in the chat box. But we're going to move on now. I'm going to just talk a little bit and share the screen. Obviously, we want to keep people out of hospital. We want people to live independently. We want them to live independently at home. In order to do that, they need their house to be safe. And really, we want them not to be able to fall, because if they fall and break something, they'll end up in a hospital. So what can we do to prevent falls, and particularly people with dementia? Because this webinar today, it's put on by We Care and Repair and Bristol Dementia Alliance, and we have partnered up because there's a lot of commonality in what we're trying to achieve. So for those that don't know me, my name's Tony Hall. I'm a carer. My wife's had symptoms of frontal temporal dementia for nearly 20 years, and I'm also the chair of BDAA. So first of all, why do people with dementia fall? Well, as we know, dementia is progressive. It suddenly appears and it gradually moves on, probably to end of life. It's progressive. Initial symptoms are generally short-term memory loss or impairment. One of the things we can do to prevent that is to exercise physically, because lack of physical exercise can cause people to be unbalanced. It can cause a physical weakness in their body, in their legs particularly. So physical exercise is a good way of keeping yourself fit, and it is more likely to prevent you having falls, because you're keeping your body fit and muscles strong. So progressing on, things that could happen next is you could lose your spatial awareness. In other words, your ability to find your way around. And that means not just finding your way around a local park or your local streets. You might have problems finding your way around your local house. For example, when a lady with dementia wants to go and make a cup of tea, we generally make a cup of tea in the kitchen. Does she know where the kitchen is? And when she gets to the kitchen, is it a 50-year-old kitchen? Is it a kitchen that's come straight out of the showroom? Probably not. It's probably been modified somewhere in the last 50 years. But when she goes into a kitchen, is she able to make a cup of tea like she wants to? This webinar, by the way, we could spend all day doing this webinar on different safety aspects in the home, in the outdoors, and in hospitals. But we tried to restrict it to an hour and a half. And hopefully we're going to cover some of these subjects, maybe not as fully as we'd like to, but at least we're giving you some examples of things that we need to keep an eye on, particularly if we're looking after someone who's got dementia. So spatial awareness can be a big problem. And that's why you've probably heard this phrase that people with dementia wander. It's an awful phrase, but it means that they get up and they walk around and they go out without telling anyone, and they can get lost. And it can be due to the fact that they've got dementia, and they've also have deteriorating spatial awareness. Their judgment might be affected as well. And so when they go to get up, or when they go into a different part of the building or a different part outside, their judgment is poor, and that can affect whether they fall over or not. Also, they could be tired. We all know that when we get tired, our balance is affected. They can also be suffering from the side effects of their medication. That's a whole subject in itself, which I'm not going to cover today. But going back into the house, why do people fall? Well, sometimes people's houses are full of clutter. And so a way to prevent people falling in the house is to remove the clutter, put things away tidily. It's a bit ironic, really. As I say, my wife's got dementia at the moment, and my house, if Barbara was her old self and she could see our house at the moment, she would have a fit, because Barbara was very tidy, very organised. But since she's been ill, our house has really turned into a man pad. If you come into our house, there's piles of stuff everywhere. Every so often, I have to have a clear up. But living with someone with dementia, if they're walking around, Barbara's in a wheelchair, so she doesn't walk around independently. But if they're walking around, then obviously you need to remove the clutter, because that can cause falls. They can also get restless in the house. Most people with dementia are probably frustrated to the end of the earth. I know Barbara was. While she could speak to me, she used to tell me how frustrated she was. They might try to get up to do things, but of course, if their body isn't strong enough, or they've lost muscle power, that might not be possible. They might be in discomfort or pain. They might be hungry or thirsty and want to get up to make a sandwich or a cup of tea. And of course, in getting up, they might fall over. They might need the toilet. I could talk for half an hour on dementia-friendly toilets. I'm not going to do that today, you'll be pleased to know. If you want to know more about dementia-friendly toilets, we can tell you about that. Also, people with dementia can get bored because they're inactive. They're not doing stuff like they used to. The way to keep dementia at bay is really to keep people physically active, mentally active, and socially active. And because they're bored and they're not doing stuff, they're sat in their chair doing not a lot, and they get lonely. So loneliness is another issue. And also, because they've got dementia, one of the symptoms of dementia is confusion. So these are some of the ways in which people with dementia these are symptoms that can cause them to fall, either in the house or outdoors. And what we want to try and do is to prevent them falling, because if they fall, they can seriously hurt themselves. They need to go to hospital. And most people I talk to don't want to go to hospital. Most people would prefer to live in their own home, be independent, and we want them to do that, but we want them to be safe. I could go on, but I'm not going to. I'm going to stop there.